Last night on MasterChef Australia, 7 faced elimination.
Frantic, fabulous cooking.
And one of them had to go.
Shannon, I'm sorry. It's over.
Tonight, it's a Masterclass winter special.
A simple soup for the winter that all of you can make. Our version of minestrone.
Meet Maestro James Privett shows us his way to cook the perfect steak.
It's just so beautiful.
George turns the humble corn cob
Watch the magic happen.
into culinary art.
There's my 4 textures of sweet corn.
And for dessert, a classic winter warmer.
Spotted dick and traditional English custard.
I love it. It's fantastic. Absolutely love coming into the kitchen for Masterclass. It's really important to keep moving forward in this competition with the knowledge that you have and also the level of skills that you're developing. If you don't continue to grow and learn, then you're just not going to last.
Welcome back to the MasterChef kitchen. Welcome to another masterclass. You up for it? Here to learn. Notebooks at the ready. Good stuff.
We're at the halfway point of this competition. We've seen a lot of cooking from you all. We've definitely seen some things that we need to address, to fix, to make you better. This week's private masterclass is all about getting back to basics and working with beef. 3 of you are going to join a multi-hatted chef who's been working in some of the top restaurants here in Sydney. I'm talking about the very talented James Privett. He's now the head chef at the French bistro, The Cut. The first person we're going to send is Matt. And the reason for that, Matt, is we know you absolutely love and adore cooking meat. And to see you overcome your struggles in that Qantas challenge was absolutely brilliant.
Well, you know, certainly the beef, I think, was probably the best protein this evening.
So enjoy it. Now, the next 2 contestants that we're sending on this private masterclass are Danny and Ali. You're going on that masterclass. Matt, Ali, Danny, enjoy your masterclass. Our cherubs.
Off to a private masterclass with James Privett at The Cut. It's all about working with beef, and had a few problems with beef in the kitchen here, so hopefully it's going to be a big help.
Each week on Masterclass, we like to teach you a basic recipe that you all must know. Now, it's a little bit chilly, so we're going to teach you how to make a simple soup, our version of minestrone. We're actually going to make spatzle to serve with our minestrone. Now,
Isn't spatzle German?
It is German, it is German. And I haven't made spatzle since I was an apprentice, hence why I'm going to get you to make the spatzle,
Love
Gary.
that. And of course, I make spatzle every day. All right, kick off. Let's do the minestrone.
The 3 techniques that you'll be learning about today with this soup are, number 1, understanding and addressing the cutting of the vegetables. Number 2, not cooking the soup too long where you're losing all of that beautiful flavour. And number 3, learning how to make the spatzle, which in essence is a German noodle. Okay, guys, the first step is to sautéing and sweating the vegetables. So a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of our heavy-based pot. So about 3 tablespoons. It's good for you, yeah? What I've got here is some golden shallots that we've peeled down nice and small. If you haven't got them, you know, a brown onion, you know, chopped up evenly is fine as well. About 12 of these. We've got about 6 cloves of garlic. 3/4 of a cup of swede that we've just cut up nice and evenly. Now, I've been quite pedantic in the way I've cut it. It's the chef in me, yeah? You just got to make it as accurate as possible so the vegetables cook evenly. The next vegetable is celeriac. Now, celeriac does belong to the celery family. Actually, looks like this. A lot of people believe that it's the base of the celery. It lives in the dirt, but it's not. It's a beautiful vegetable. And what's lovely about this vegetable is you can make the most amazing puree with it. We've got 3/4 of a cup. Of course, some carrot, which is going to add some lovely colour but flavour. I've basically just peeled this carrot and cut it on an angle, which we call in the kitchen a siffle. About 100 grams of carrot. Just important to keep giving it a stir. We don't want colour, we just want to sweat out that beautiful flavour. Soup for me should be this wonderful feeling just as you put it in your mouth. It should feel really good. Make you feel wonderful as well. Now, the next vegetable that we're going to put in is my all-time favourite. I think I put it in everything because I love it, and that's fennel, okay? So that's going to add this really lovely anise flavour, baked, pureed, shaved fresh. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've got about 80 grams here. So a good pinch of salt. So I've just got 40 grams. I've peeled the celery and sliced it on an angle. I'm going to add just about a teaspoon of tomato paste. That's going to give it a little bit of body and, of course, a little bit of colour at the same time and flavour. Important I put it in at this point because I just want to cook out the rawness that tomato paste gives. At this point, you can see it's just giving it a lovely little tinge of red. Now, this is just on a moderate heat. Now, I've still got zucchini to go in, but I'm not going to add that in yet because this will take, you know, 5 minutes to cook. What I do have is 2 blanched whole tomatoes. And I'm going to add these in whole because these will break down through the cooking process and slowly add a lovely little freshness to the soup. If I chop the tomatoes up and put them in straight away, they turn into mush, okay? The next step is to add some stock. And here I've just got a good, simple chicken stock, okay? If you want to use a vegetable stock, you can. If you want to just use water, you can. So I've got 2 litres of chicken stock here. I've got also some quinoa, an ancient grain that I think is absolutely fantastic. And we're going to add that in now, and that's going to actually cook this grain, so it will expand and give it, again, a lovely little texture. So you can imagine, you know, with the spatzle in there as well, it's going to be a really yummy, fresh, sort of wholesome soup. Wow, I sound like a hippie. So about 3 tablespoons of quinoa. Just rain the quinoa in so it cooks evenly. Right, lid goes on. And we're just going to bring that up to the boil. I've got some lovely little aromats here. Now this, in the professional world, we call a bouquet garni, okay? A little bouquet of different little herbs and spices that are going to add flavour. And what we do is we take a little muslin cloth, and in there I put some thyme, some oregano, some parsley stalks, some bay leaf, and some peppercorns. Then what we do is we just bundle these up. You're putting a baby to sleep. And we just wrap this up. And what that allows us to do is, once the flavour's been introduced into the soup, we can pull it out, throw it straight in the bin, rather than trying to fish out all the peppercorns. Craig, do you want to pop up and have a smell there? It smells quite fresh, doesn't it? It's delicious.
Nice. Yep.
Okay, pop the bouquet garni in. Okay, so this has just come up to the boil. It's going to take about 15 minutes to cook. Any longer than that, we're going to end up with mushy vegetables and lose all of that beautiful fragrance.
So that's simmering, and when we come back, we'll do the spatzle.
Over to you.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to have a basic recipe for minestrone, and this is our version of minestrone. Now, the soup's ticking away beautifully. We've got probably another 7-8 minutes to go on that before we add the zucchini and some cannellini beans. The next step is to make the spatzle.
Funny, isn't it? Minestrone with spatzle. Spatzle is like a German noodle, and they eat spatzle with everything, like potatoes, right? That's how I think about it. And I work for a German or an Austrian chef, actually, who taught me how to make spatzle years ago. And they're a beautiful little soft noodle, and it shows you that in all cuisines of the world, there's always something, a staple, that is incredibly cheap, incredibly easy to make, and also really tasty. So why not? Noodle in the soup, all works for me. So I've got 2 cups of flour, and this is a home recipe, right? So there's nothing sexy about this. Good pinch of salt, 2 cups of flour, and for every cup of flour, an egg. Make a well in the centre, and we drop in 2 eggs. All right? And then I've got just under a cup of milk. It's about 200 mils of milk. 2 cups of flour, cup of milk, 2 eggs. So I'm going to put about half the milk in, and then I'm going to draw that flour into the milk, all right? So I'll give it a mix first. And I use my hands because this is the way I was taught, all right? Because there's an important process that you need to incorporate just in a second. You then just start dragging the flour into that central well. So it's a bit like making classic sort of Italian pasta, but it's not going to be as tight. Now, the texture that I want is pretty close to that. And you've got to remember that most flours will vary just a little bit. So there's got to be a little bit of touch and feel in this. So a little bit more milk, and then again, we draw this flour into that mixture. So you're making a batter, that's the key. Okay, so I'm drawing that flour in, okay? I'm gonna add a little bit more milk, because that's not far off the texture that I want. Now, the key here now is now you've got this, see that sort of slightly stretchy mixture? You've got to beat that now, just to really develop that gluten and to build the stretch in it. The way I was told was just to sort of lift and drop, smoothing it out, making a nice stretchy mixture. All right? One of my favourite things with spatzle is just once it's made, drained and fried with bacon or even sprouts. Oh. Sounds awful with sprouts, but it's just absolutely delicious. All right, so clean hands, boiling water, good pinch of salt, which is already in, and then I've rigged up my little spatzle board. And then the whole idea is to spread the noodle paste onto the board, dip it into the water, and then flick it off. I'm pretty slow, haven't done this for years. There's going to be...
This is why I made you do it.
I know, there's going to be lots of Germans looking at me going, "Nein! This is not how you make spatzle!" This one's for you, all right? So what we do is just dip it into the water, all right? And then... essentially, that's what we're doing.
I love it.
So just remember, you've got to dip it, and then...
Is that your table tennis bat, Gary?
Yeah. I was the Hailing Island table tennis champion.
With your square bat.
So let them come to the surface. They cook for about 2 minutes or so, and then straight out. And never refresh them. Don't want to wash them off. Like any pasta should never go into cold water. So what I do is I toss them in a little bit of olive oil.
Well, Gary's done a great job with the spatzle. Our soup's been ticking over for about 15 minutes. So for me, it's nearly done. We've got probably another 2 to 3 minutes to go. So good time to add the zucchini, because that doesn't take long to cook. And we've got about 100 grams of zucchini. I want to see the green, yeah? So I've left that on, washed them, and cut up these lovely little squares. And again, I've got some cannellini beans. I've just used tinned cannellini beans that are already cooked. There's nothing wrong with that. I've got about 50 grams of cannellini beans. And they go in. Now, at that point, I've gotten enough flavour out of that bouquet garni. So probably a good idea to pull that out. Also want to taste it for enough salt.
So what are we doing with the parsley?
Okay, we just need to shred the parsley up.
Do you want me to do that for you?
Yes, thank you,
So just
Gary.
pick a few parsley leaves?
Yep. Again, the parsley's we're going to add right at the end because we don't want to cook that too much. It's going to lose all of its flavour. So right at the end. and some lemon zest, which is going to add some vibrance to the soup and freshen it up. So pretty much for me, this soup's been cooking on the stove for about 15 to 20 minutes, and it's done.
So, George, the other thing you wanted was some little garlic toast.
Yeah, that would be absolutely delicious.
Beautiful.
I think
so.
Go perfectly with it.
I've actually roasted some garlic, popped it in the oven, 45 minutes, in the whole head of garlic. So they've been in for 45 minutes, and you can tell they're cooked because they're nice and soft.
So we've just turned the heat off. We've got the shredded parsley that Gary did. Just going to pop that in. We've got our spatzle that Gary made. Looks absolutely fabulous, and there's enough heat in that soup that's going to warm that spatzle up. That looks good, doesn't it?
Oh, it looks great. I'm loving it.
Okay. So our soup's ready to go. We just need the garlic bread.
I'm just going to oil it. And I'll just put a little bit of salt seasoning to get it going. Flick it over. And then we're just going to pop that on the griddle, or if you want, under the grill, under the salamander. All right. So that'll just take a matter of minutes, George. So you can pop your soup in the bowl and we're ready to go.
Cool. Right, time to dish up this minestrone. And of course, a good minestrone needs good lashings of parmesan. So Hayden, why don't you come up and shave some parmesan.
The seasoning.
Over this soup. It smells wonderful, actually. I'm quite impressed. Oh, nice.
Look at this parmesan. Straight over the top,
Yeah,
George?
just give it some lashings, yeah.
Alrighty.
Yum. Cool, mate. Brilliant. Stop there. What do you reckon?
We're done. That looks spot on. Something you'd want to eat in the middle of winter, sitting down. Perfect. Wholesome, healthy.
So there you go. Look, I've just spread the garlic out on the top there. And that's, that's proper garlic bread. That's not, I don't know where you want to put that, George.
You can't go pashing any girls after that, hey?
You can. You can.
There you have it, Gary and George's simple minestrone with spatzle and roasted garlic bread. A simple soup for the winter that all of you can make.
Lovely. Well done, George.
Right, it's tasting time. Danielle, Alana, one more, Adam. Come forward, guys. Come and taste this soup. You excited?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, guys, tuck in.
Oh, that's delicious, isn't it? I feel healthy just eating it.
Have you had spatzle before? Any of you had spatzle? Wow.
Have a little crouton, dip it in the soup, get some garlic in you. Come on, don't be shy.
Adam, tell us about what you're tasting in the soup.
The soup's beautiful. The lemon really comes through to freshen it up, and the herbs. But to me, you think it's going to be heavy, but it's actually really light with all those vegetables in, so it's beautiful. And the garlic's perfect because it's almost sweet, not that pungency of garlic when you cook it through.
Danielle?
I love that you get each of the vegetables separately and you just get that overtone of beautiful sweetness and freshness with it as well.
Nice. You know what I like about it? It's the fact that it's not dominated by tomato. That's what I like. It's really light, tomatoes there, but it's all about the vegetables, and that's gorgeous.
Oh, it's really beautiful.
Thank you, guys. My top 3 tips for minestrone is number 1, uniformity when it comes to cutting the vegetables so everything cooks correctly. Number 2, adding something like a little bouquet garni will add a lovely little freshness and flavour to the soup. And number 3, control the amount of time you cook the soup for. Cook it for too long and it's going to become mushy and you're going to lose that integrity of those vegetables. A good old classic like minestrone doesn't have to have boring things in it. Add quinoa, add spatzle, and you make it really interesting. And of course, yummy. Yesterday, the red team faced off in an elimination challenge where they had to cook by numbers. The challenge was to cook a dish using a limited number of ingredients. It was a test of restraint to see how well your mind could think by cooking with only a couple of ingredients.
You've delivered a great dish with just 3 ingredients.
I thought I'd set myself the same task as yours, but only using 1 core ingredient. My core ingredient is corn. But of course, I'm allowed to use some extra pantry staples, but I'm going to show you how applying different technique with something so humble as corn, how you can create a restaurant quality dish. So the dish we're going to make today is a sweet corn custard with roasted sweet corn and smoked almond salad, sweet corn puree, and saffron buttered popcorn. first step is to make our roasted sweet corn and smoked almond salad. So we need to roast our sweet corn. I literally keep the sweet corn in the husk, and what that's going to do is going to protect the sweet corn, add some lovely flavour at the same time. And literally a little French grill here, we turn that on, and you know, at home you could use your barbecue. There's nothing wrong with that. We whack that straight on, and this will take about 35 to 40 minutes. The next step of this dish is we need to make the sweet corn custard, as well as the sweet corn puree. So we make the puree, half of that we use to then turn into custard, half of that we keep as the puree. I'm gonna need some help with this, so Sun, come on. First step is we need to grate the sweet corn. We're gonna use a microplane to do that. So I've already given you a little bit of a head start. So there's 5 sweet corns grated into there. We need the 6th. So if you could do that, that'd be fantastic. And the reason why we're grating this as fine as possible is so when we cook it, it doesn't take long to cook, so we're not losing that flavour. So we're going to end up with 6 grated corn cobs in here. Now, what's really exciting about the core of the corn is that's got loads of flavour in it. So how am I going to use that in my custard? So I'm going to infuse that corn cob into my milk. And again, nothing goes to waste. Right, let's have a look at the corn. Okay, you can see it's starting to get that really lovely charness, which is what we want. I reckon we can take that even further, really, really dark. Okay, Sun, how are you going? Fantastic, that looks brilliant. Okay, now set that aside. Right, now we need to chop this up just into, I'll do one for you just to show. Okay?
Yep.
Just into rounds like that. Piano fingers. That's it, brilliant. Okay, that now can go into this little pot here. Yep. Now to that there, we're going to add 250 mils of milk. Right, a pinch of salt, Sun. Lid goes on, low heat, and we're just going to let that corn infuse. While you're there, Sun, can you turn the corn around? Yeah, great. It's getting nice and black. Really beautiful, bright. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to cook our puree. Right, Sun, 45 grams of butter. Let's get that in. Okay. Our 6 grated corn cobs, that goes in, okay? And I don't want this to burn. I don't want any colour on it. I just want to cook this corn beautifully without colour. So it should be on like a moderate heat. Add some salt in. And we've got 200 mils of milk. So you can add all that milk to it now that there's some heat in the pan. So guys, this is pretty much nearly there. We're just basically, you can see starting to thicken. At the same time, it's cooking as well. And before you know it, we'll be ready to liquidize it, make it really smooth. This should take about 10 to 12 minutes.
With the infused milk,
yes,
do you want to just bring that to the boil and then turn it off? And
bring it to the boil, leave it, and just pull it off. Okay, that looks great. So that's ready to go. So we're just going to strain that off. And this is going to be used to make our sweet corn custard. So we've got 4 sheets of gelatine, and this will set 400 grams of finished puree and milk, okay? Now, to soak our gelatin leaves, I've got a bowl of ice water, okay? And the reason why we soak in ice water is so the actual gelatin leaves don't melt into the water, okay? Our purees, you can see in terms of its thickness, it's thickened up, right? And it's cooked as well. So that's taken about, 12 minutes. We're going to now put this into our liquidizer, blend it to a nice fine puree. Just gently on. Right, there's our puree done. Just tip it back into this pot. So we've made our puree. We'll let this cool down before we mix our milk with it. Right, guys, so we've got our infusion of sweet corn milk. Now we're going to put this all together and make our sweet corn custard. So now we add 200 grams of sweet corn puree. We've got 200 mils of milk here. Now I'm going to take this soaked gelatine, and this milk is still warm. The gelatine's going to melt in it. We just mix that around so we dissolve all that gelatine. I'm going to pour this in, Sun, and while I'm pouring in, you stir, okay? because I don't want the gelatine to set quickly into that cold mixture, or we're going to end up with lumps. All right, because I'm quite pedantic, I want to pass this mixture through a sieve, just in case there's any lumps in there. Pour this into a jug. Now, our mixture's ready to go, so we just need to set it in some sort of vessel. Now, you could set it in a little cup if you like, or a little glass. Now, what we've got here is some PVC tubes, now from a regular hardware shop. And then what we've got is just some acetate, which you can buy from a stationery shop, that we roll up and line the inside. And what that does is, when you go to take it out of the mould, it will be done with ease. Now, so we could stand these up, I've put some butter down, okay? And then just gently, slowly pour that in. And you just fill it right to the top. Now, a little bit, if you put a little bit more in there, that's fine, because we're going to trim the ends up anyway. So there we have it. That's our little corn custard. We're going to pop this in the fridge to set it. And we're starting to piece together our 4 textures of corn. Soon, give us a hand. We're getting back to basics. 1 ingredient, and I'm showing you how many different ways you can produce a beautiful dish. Sweet corn, 4 different textures. Kate, why don't you come and help me make this roasted sweet corn and smoked almond salad. Okay, the corn's been roasting on this grill for about 40 minutes, and you can see it's nice and tanned and nice and crunchy and golden. So what I'm going to get you to do, Kate, peel it off and clean it, and then we'll slice it up. And you can see here, look how it's got that lovely little roasted tinge on it. Looks absolutely fantastic. Now, Kate, what I need you to do is take all the kernels off this cob really gently. Yep, tap, tap, tap. Beautiful. That's it. Fantastic. Really gently. Take your time. Fantastic, Kate. Do you normally barbecue corn at home?
I've actually tried barbecuing it, but I haven't done it within the husks.
I find when you take those husks off and barbecue them, you lose a lot of the juice in the grill. So we've got our corn that you've sliced up, Kate. Now, we've got here some smoked almonds, which you can either smoke yourself or buy them already smoked, which is fine. And we'll add a good handful of them. Some shallots, about sort of 1 large shallot, thinly sliced. So a good splash of olive oil. Oh, that's my girl, Kate, huh? A little bit of vinegar. We've just used a simple white wine vinegar. So probably 3 parts oil to 1 part vinegar. Good pinch of salt, and just gently give that a mix. Right, so I want you to taste that and tell me if it's got enough salt, enough oil, a good balance of vinegar. How's that? Good? Happy?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Okay, brilliant. So we can just set that aside, ready for plate up. Kate, great job. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Our final texture of corn is saffron buttered popcorn. Pretty straightforward, old school style, pot, lid, nice and hot. We pop a little bit of oil in. A vegetable oil's fine, so I want that quite neutral. About 3 tablespoons of oil, 100 grams of raw popcorn. We pop a pinch of salt in there and a lid on there. And watch the magic happen. It's important with popcorn, you just shake it a bit. Ooh, I love that. There's enough residual heat in there now. I've turned the gas off for it to finish popping. And then what we do is, while it's still warm in there, we've made a little saffron butter here. So we've steeped some saffron threads in a little bit of hot water, and then taken that water, poured that into butter and whipped it up. Alana, run up, because I'm going to need you to lift the lid. We add some of this butter in there. Right, lift the lid. Okay, and we just...
Oh, it smells really good.
How good's that?
Yep.
What does it smell like, Alana?
The movies.
Yeah?
I feel like I'm at the cinema.
Pashing in the back row.
Of course. I can smell that saffron coming out now.
Can you?
Yeah.
It smells good, doesn't it?
Smells really good.
A bit more salt. Okay, pop the lid back on. and that will just melt through and get really yummy. Now, at that point there, lid comes off. We've got a colander here with a bowl underneath it to strain off any excess butter. So our 4 textures are done. We've got our sweet corn puree, we've got our roasted sweet corn and smoked almond salad, we've got our saffron popcorn, and finally, we're going to go and grab our sweet corn custard that's in the fridge. Right, our custard's set, so let's get one out. So we basically just push that out really gently. So now we can start plating up. First thing I'm going to put on is the sweet corn puree. Then our little custard, our little salad. Finally, some of our popcorn. Put that on quite liberally. And then I've got some of these cresses here. I'm just going to take some of this purple basil off. Okay.
Oh, George, that's delicious. Absolutely beautiful.
Right, finally, so we've got our sweet corn on there, our saffron on there, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of coffee powder over there. And that's just going to give it a lovely little flavour. Well, there you have it. There's my 4 textures of sweet corn. Right, time for tasting. Billy? Peter? Sun?
Yeah.
Yay! Right, guys, taste away. Remember, it's all about textures. Get a little bit of everything. Yeah.
It's so sweet. And the corn puree is great. It's just so flavoursome.
I'm surprised how smooth that custard is. I don't know whether it's dessert or savoury.
You know what I'd love to add to that? I look at that and I'd love to add, like, you know, fried chicken skin.
I want a bowl of saffron popcorn.
And a big bowl of saffron popcorn at the movies. Right, guys. I think you've cleaned the plate. Well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Back to your seats. The 3 top tips for this dish are, when doing barbecue corn, leave the husk on, then peel and eat. Number 2, when making puree, grate the corn nice and fine, cook it quickly, and you'll end up with a better product. Number 3, don't waste the core. There's loads of flavour in there. Use that to infuse your milk. Just remember, you need to understand your ingredient, then from there, explore with different textures. This is the stuff we love to see in the kitchen.
Today we're on our way to a private masterclass to learn all about meat with James Privett at the Cut Bar and Grill.
I'm really looking forward to this private masterclass because I have a passion for meat and it'd be really good to get some more tips and tricks up my sleeve.
Morning, guys. Welcome to the Cut Bar and Grill. I'm James Privett. I've been working with beef for over 12 years. Every good chef needs to know their way around beef. The key to getting it right is to keep it simple. My food philosophy is source the best quality meat, treat it with respect, and make it the hero. Today we're doing a private masterclass covering the essentials of working with beef, from butchering through to preparation and then cooking. We'll be making 2 dishes today. The first one is a French classic, steak tartare. And then we'll hit the cooktop with a lesson on how to cook the perfect sirloin steak with 2 fantastic marinades. So we're going to start with a strip loin. Now, the strip loin is where we get the sirloin steak from. This is how we get it at the restaurant, and this is how your butcher gets it from the abattoir. Okay, so we're going to clean this up. We flip it over, and what you'll see is down this side, we've got the chain, which basically links this cut to the next cut, okay? And if you pull it hard enough, it'll come away by itself. If you just run your knife down the chain, pulling away at it as you go, it doesn't take a lot of effort. And we'll pop that into our spare beef bowl. All right.
What would you use that cut for?
We're going to use that for the steak tartare later on. Okay, next, we're going to trim off this bit of fat there, okay? So it's just a matter of trimming that back so that you can achieve that shape. All right, so from there, you want to just carefully remove some of that sinew. You don't have to take it all off. It just helps loosen the meat up. a little bit so that it doesn't tighten up during the cooking. So that's cleaned up pretty well. All right, Matt, you want to come around? Brush up on your butchery skills. Just cut it off there for you. And we'll set that aside. Now, so about 250 grams, should be about an inch with a steak this size. All right, get into it.
So about that?
Yep. And always when you're cutting, to get a straight cut, keep your eye on the knife, okay? See where it's headed. The heel of the knife should always be the same thickness away. So when you're cutting any steak, whether it's cooked or raw, you want to be cutting across the grain. All right, Matt, thank you very much. They're beautiful.
Cheers.
We're going to put these steaks aside, ready for the marinade. And then we're going to use these offcuts to make our steak tartare. All right, any wastage in a restaurant is lost money. So you want to try and utilise as much of the product as you can, which is where tartare comes in. It's a raw beef product, and because we use prime cuts in the restaurant, it's perfect for a steak tartare. So grab your offcuts, trim back any fat. For this one, you don't want any fat on it at all. When you're doing tartare, always make sure that you're using prime quality meat. With that in mind, you want to do a really fine chop on it. The less you can chop this, the better it's going to be. But the finer you chop it, the better it's going to eat. So there's a fine line between keeping it out and working it too much and getting it to a really fine pate. Okay, so that should just about do it. So that's the chopped mince. Really, really fine. Let's get into making it. So what we need is some Tabasco. Tabasco is going to give it some heat. It's going to take away a little bit of that raw flavour.
How much Tabasco would you use to meat ratio?
That's about 80 grams of meat. To that, I'd add maybe 4 or 5 drops of Tabasco. Worcestershire is about a teaspoon. And now I'm adding 2 or 3 healthy pinches of rock salt. Now, don't be afraid to get some salt in there. And now the egg, the all-important egg. The egg is going to bind the meat. So you just want to crack that. We're only using the yolk. So for that amount of meat, you want to add about 2/3 of a yolk.
Oh, okay. So it's not too wet, but just stuck together.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to work it a lot when it's in the bowl. Start those proteins working in the meat. That's going to help hold it together as well. Okay, so gather that all together. See how it's sticking together on its own, and pop that into the mould. Pat that down all nice and tight so that when we lift the ring off later, it keeps its shape. The other 4 traditional ingredients for a steak tartare are chopped capers, a rough small dice of Spanish onion, same size for the cornichons, and then a really fine chop of parsley. In the restaurant, we serve those as accompaniments, but if you were making this at home, you'd mix all of those in and serve that on your sourdough toast. Okay, it's time to move on to the marinades. The first marinade we're going to make is a chimichurri marinade. Now, this is a classic Argentinian marinade. We use it as a side sauce in the restaurant. That's 1 cup of sherry vinegar, 150 mils of olive oil. We've got half a red capsicum. We've seeded it and diced it really small. 8 cloves of garlic, really finely chopped. 2 tablespoons of paprika. Next is 2/3 of a cup of flat leaf parsley, just roughly chopped. And 4 teaspoons of oregano, also roughly chopped. From there, you want to add a bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Mix that all around, and then you're going to set that off to the side. Grab your sirloin steaks. I tend to find if pour a bit of marinade into the bowl first, and then put your steaks on top, then you're going to get more even marination. We're going to pop that into the fridge for 4 hours before we barbecue that later on. Our second marinade today is a dry marinade, or a herb rub. We're going to put 2 medium onions into the food processor with 12 cloves of garlic. Just going to pop the lid on that and whiz that up until it's a mulch. All right, so once that's all blended up, scrape your onion into the bowl. You've got 3 tablespoons of chopped rosemary, 3 tablespoons of thyme, they're chopped as well, and 1 tablespoon of sage. And then to finish that off, you want 3 tablespoons of crushed black peppercorns. Pour in about 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Again, a little bit of seasoning, but not too much, because we're going to season the steak again later. Get your hand in there. There's nothing better than working with your hands and food. Okay, so once all that's mixed through, it's all nice. Oh, smell that.
Lovely. It's really fresh.
Oh, I love that one.
Again, the steaks that Matt portioned earlier, we're going to grab that, and basically it's called a rub because you massage that in. Okay, I'm going to press it in so that all the flavours come into contact with the steak.
How long should this one be marinated for?
Again, this one should be marinated for at least 4 hours.
Yum.
Cover that up and refrigerate that.
Same.
That is going to be fantastic. So that's all of our steaks marinated. Our tartare's ready to go. It's almost time for us to get outside and cook. Our masterclass today is all about cooking with beef. We've already made the steak tartare. We're going to finish that off a bit later. Here are our sirloin steaks that we've marinated, chimichurri and the dry herb rub. We're going to be cooking these in 2 different ways today. The most popular ways in the restaurant are medium and medium rare. Slight different timings on them, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. One of the most important things when you're cooking a steak is to have your grill hot enough. We're going to grill it today. Same deal with a pan though. If it's not hot enough, it's not going to seal the steak properly and it's going to drop out a lot of blood. Okay, so we'll start with the dry rub. Just get all that marinade off there. Otherwise, that's just going to burn to your grill. And then oil that up. I oil the steak, I don't oil the grill. You're more likely to get flame if you oil the grill. So that's all nice. Work that one on there. You want to hear that sound. You want to hear that sizzle. If you don't hear it, your pan's not hot enough. And that pretty much goes with anything. Mushrooms, capsicums, anything that you're going to do in a pan, chicken, especially meat, fish, you want to hear that sound, okay? That one's going to be the medium rare, and this side's going to be the medium. And these are our sirloin steaks that we've marinated in a chimichurri marinade. All right, for a medium rare steak, you pretty much want to have it on the grill for 2 minutes. If you're going to make the crisscross, after those 2 minutes, turn it on a 90-degree angle, go another 2 minutes before you flip it over. From there, that's about 2 minutes. Medium steaks are going to go for about 3 minutes, and then 2 minutes, flip it over, and then 2 minutes and 3 minutes, okay? We turn the medium rares after 2, and that's probably been on for another 2 minutes. So we're going to flip that over.
Yum.
You only want to turn your steak once, like
Really?
in terms of turning it over. Turn it once. All right, basically what's happening, you put it on, you seal the meat, all right? And it forces the blood up. When you turn it back over, all that blood's on the bottom, you want to force that blood up again. So just to recap, medium rares have been on for 2 minutes before we turned it, cooked it for another 2 minutes, flipped it over, and 2 minutes and 2 minutes again.
Yum.
So we're going to flip these mediums now. You'll notice that the dry rub's probably a little bit darker than the wet, and that's just the sugars in the onion and the sugars in the meat caramelizing under the heat. All right, they're about medium rare. The blood's coming to the top. You can see that.
Yep.
So for about 3 to 5 minutes, we'll just sit that there. You'll see the blood start to come off it, and that's why we rest it on the rack. Okay, while the steaks are resting, we're going to finish off the steak tartare.
Yum.
And then in the restaurant, we just snip around the quail egg, just snipping off the top. And then if you hold your thumb over the yolk, so that you're just snipping off the white, and then we just sit that in the middle as presentation for the restaurant. And that's
Cute. That's really cool.
It's a steak tartare. And the idea behind this is that when it gets to the table, people mix this themselves. So they pour that yolk out, and that helps bind it again, and they mix in all of these ingredients. Or, if you don't like onion so much, don't add in so much onion.
Idea.
Ideally, this is all the perfect mix. So we're going to mix it all in together. All right, so that's finished. We'll put that over there. And now we're going to carve our steaks. That one is hopefully medium rare. Okay.
Yum.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's all moist. You can see that pink line down the middle. That's what you're looking for. So we'll just slice that up so that we can taste it in a minute. All right, and then our medium. So you can see it's a little bit drier, a little bit less blood in there. Whack that one down there. There's a lot of talk you shouldn't season your steaks before you cook them because the salt burns. Generally, depending on how I'm cooking it, I do season my steaks before I cook it. But because these have been marinating, there's only a little amount of salt in the marinade, so I'm going to re-season that once it's done. All right, here we go, guys. Meat two ways. We've got the raw steak tartare, and we've got our perfectly cooked medium rare and medium steaks, one with a chimichurri and one with a dry herb rub.
Lovely.
Who's hungry?
Yes.
Yes. Yep. Okay, we'll take that yolk off there. Ellie, you want to mix that through?
Yeah, sure.
Just mush it in and bring it all together. Yeah, just mush it
put
all together.
I like all those ingredients.
Yeah.
Yum.
All right, cool. Bit of toast. All right.
Yeah, get in on that. That's so good.
Yay, thanks.
I'm so getting in on this.
Yeah, the texture of the beef is just amazing, and then you get all like the crunchy bits of all the cornichons and all the onions. And
people shouldn't be scared of having raw meat because it's just so beautiful.
That's delicious.
I love it.
Flavours.
The texture of the beef is so silky, and that, like the capers, give it this beautiful saltiness. Just beautiful.
All right, let's get into the steak. Medium rare with chimichurri, medium with a dry herb rub. What's the difference between the wet marinade and the dry marinade in this?
There's a lot more flavour coming out with the dry marinade because it's a lot more caramelised and charcoaly.
I really love the texture on top with the crust. That kind of forms with the dry rub, but then you know that just melt in your mouth tender.
I like the medium rare because it's you can taste the meat more.
Yeah, your wet marinade's more about breaking down the meat a little bit more, and your dry rub is about flavouring the steak. My top 3 tips for working with beef are using the correct cut for the right cooking method, cutting against the grain for raw or cooked meat, and then finally, the all-important resting time after you've cooked the meat. All right, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here at the Cut Bar and Grill. Good luck in the rest of the competition. I'll be watching. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. We had a great time. Cheers, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Next on Masterclass, we're going to look back at a couple of problems we experienced during the week. And one of them specifically, Michael, not mentioning any names, was a steamed pudding in the Qantas First Class Challenge. Michael, it was a bit of a disaster. Shannon and yourself put together what seemed to be a very simple steamed syrup pudding. What happened is it came out and it was very dense, very heavy, and it wasn't syrupy enough. So to give you a proper lesson on how to cook a steamed sponge properly so that it's moist and it's luscious and gorgeous, I'm going to show you how to do one of those classic English puddings. And before I say the name, and you're all going to giggle and titter, all right, because that's the whole idea, is that a lot of those old puddings, you know, from the 1800s, had funny names. Plum duff, jam roly-poly, spotted dick. And that's what this one is. They used to call Dick, and it sounds terrible, they used to call Dick, that's what they called a pudding. That's why it's got its name. So I'm going to show you how to do that classic English pudding, a spotted dick. And with that pudding, which is going to be light, fluffy and syrupy, I'm going to serve a classic English custard. So the 3 techniques that I want to impress on you, the things that you're going to learn today, is how to steam a pudding, how to identify the right density of the cake mix, and the third one is how to make a quick custard. Right, so I need a helper. Michael, no escape. Let's go. The thing you've got to realise is a steamed sponge pudding is really, really easy to do. It only consists of a couple of components, and its aeration comes from eggs or the baking powder that's inside it. So first up, 1.5 cups of self-raising flour, so that's already got baking powder in. Now we've got breadcrumbs, 1.5 cups, in they go. And the breadcrumbs lighten the pudding, okay? That's really important. And then we're going to put in, this is suet mix. Okay, so, you know, this is readily available at the supermarket. You can use fresh suet, and the way you use fresh suet, obviously, go to the butcher, ask them for kidney fat, because that's what it is, and you can freeze it and grate it. If you can't find suet, replace it with butter or margarine. So a cup of suet, in she goes. Next, half a cup of caster sugar. All right, let's give it a little bit of a mix through. And then what we do, wet ingredients, all right? So I've got 300 of milk, just pour it into the bowl. A couple of eggs. One for you, one for me. So mix together, give it a good old mix. And then I want the zest of the orange and the zest of the lemon into that wet mixture. Hold that for you if you wish. Not essential, the lemon and the orange, but I'm putting it in there because it just adds another little flavour in there. And then when you finish zesting, I'm going to cut that and squeeze the juice, and I'm going to put that liquid in. Smells gorgeous. In fact, most of the baking I do, particularly at home, it's always got lemon or orange zest in it. Right, lemon and orange juice, squeezed, ready to go. Now the fruit. Now, traditional spotted dick, normally just currants, raisins, or currants, okay? But I like adding lots of different types of dried fruits. So 1/3 of a cup of green raisins, beautiful stuff. I've got same quantity, 1/3 of a cup sour cherries, 1/3 of a cup of currants, in they go. 1/3 of a cup of barberries, little fruit. Good old sultanas, about 1/3 of a cup, in they go. And then some mixed peel or orange peel. So lots and lots of fruit, okay? Just give that a little bit of a mix through. So we just take a handful and we'll pop some of those beautiful fruits inside the pudding. Ready? All right, let's pop the juice in. And then, like everything, I would just give it a little bit of a mix to start it off, right? I'd put in about 2/3 of the milk, egg and zest mixture, just because we want to make that little adjustment at the end. May take more or may take less, and it's all about touch and feel. Now what we've got to do is just start folding this together from the outside to the inside, and what we want is this lovely, soft, tasty batter. Do we need to add a bit more milk?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's quite tight. So let's put half of what is there into the mixture. Yep, that's it. Oh, look at all that beautiful zest. And give it a good old mix around. Let's see what it looks like. Now, this is the point where I think you guys went wrong. And even though you didn't have the suet or the breadcrumbs and it's a slightly grainier mixture, that what you're after is that sort of point where the mixture will drop nice and easily off a spoon. And that mixture that you were spooning into the mould was really stiff. You remember?
Yeah, I do, definitely.
And I think that was the first point. That was the first bit where you went wrong. So what we need to do now, grease the mould, put the fruit in, golden syrup, and then put this mixture on top and wrap it up and get it ready to steam. So first of all, before we go any further, I think it's important to talk about the pot. First up, I would check that your pudding mould fits the pot. Otherwise, choose a different mould. The other thing you can do is you need to find a trivet. And what that does, it just keeps it off the bottom of the pot. And obviously the bottom of the pot is really hot. And if you're not careful, if that's sitting on the bottom, then you just get conducted heat through it and that'll burn. So trivet in the bottom, and that'll be ready to go when we put our pudding in. Next up, butter the mould. You can spray this with a very healthy olive oil. So let's get a good splodge of this in there, because you can be quite generous, all right? Because you want a nice non-stick surface, but you also want that butter to flavour, you know, the pudding, all right, which makes it extra luscious and gorgeous. So I think it's enough. Pop that out there. Pudding batter is ready, so we're going to pop the fruit in the bottom. And I love this because when you tip it out, you get that gorgeous fruit all over the top, all glistening and gorgeous. Now we're going to put in a good amount of golden syrup. Sure. About 1/2 of a cup, but I say that loosely, all right? So,
go nuts.
Yeah, go nuts. Now, go on, more. Yeah, more. Yeah, I reckon that's enough. What do you reckon? Or should we just put a little bit more in? Just, yeah, one of those. Yeah, go on, one of those. Next, pudding batter into mould. That's a nice light mixture, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's a lot lighter than ours was. Yeah. Sort of falling.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the greaseproof over the top, and that's just to make sure that no moisture gets in. And then we're going to secure that round with a piece of string. Good stuff. Lid on. We just need to put it to bed now in that lovely pot of boiling water with the trivet. Actually, you pick it up. Let's bring it over. So water's simmering, and what you want is that gentle simmer. It takes about 1.5 hours to cook, so you may have to top the pot up with a little bit of water. It's something you have to check. So pudding's on, and while that's happening, cup of tea and a lie down, but also that traditional English custard. Right, we're making spotted dick with traditional English custard. So far, so good. Pudding's in the mould, steaming away, takes about an hour and a half to cook. So we've had time for a cup of tea, a lie down, and now we're going to make the custard, all right? So you swing around this way. I'll show you a very simple way of making a slightly thick custard. It's not an anglaise, although basically it's the same recipe, but we're using corn flour just to thicken it up a little bit, so you get that luscious texture. So first up, we're going to heat the milk up and infuse it with vanilla. 2 cups of milk, all right? In she goes, turn the gas on. What I want you to do is split the vanilla pod, scrape the seeds out, pop it into the 2 cups of milk, all right? Split, seeds out, straight into the milk. Yep, that's it. And chuck this in as well. Vanilla's in, milk's coming up to the boil, all right? Next up, I have in here 8 egg yolks. Anywhere between 6 and 10 will work brilliantly for that 2 cups, all right? It's quite rich. And I've got 100 grams of sugar. So we mix the sugar with the egg yolks, with a whisk, in they go. And just mix those until they're pale and creamy. Come on, put a bit of elbow grease in it. Michael, that's it, lovely. And then what I've got here is 10 grams of corn flour. So it's just a nice heaped tablespoon. And what that'll do is just stabilise the custard and thicken it a little bit. So I'll pop that in. All right, that's good, excellent. Let's put half of that milk into this mixture. So sling it in, go on, pour it in, keep going. About that, perfect, all right. Now, quite quickly, back on the gas. In she goes. And then whisk, off you go. You can turn up the gas a little bit. Now, remember, because the corn flour's in there, it's a stabiliser, all right? It's a starch. And so what it'll do is it'll stabilise that mixture. It won't scramble like a normal anglaise would if you kept boiling it, all right? So it'll thicken it as it comes to the boil. That looks beautiful. That looks ready. Do you want to have a taste? Yeah. Oh.
I usually like packet custard, but how easy that is, I'd probably... No, I do. So it's like one of my, you know, guilty pleasures, packet custard.
Packet custard?
Yeah, you know, like the stuff in the cartons.
You know, can I be honest with you? I do too! So, let's tip it into the bowl. OK, custard's made. Store it in the fridge, last up to 3 days. Easily, OK? So a nice, easy thing to do. All right? Pudding's nearly ready, so I think we should get ready to serve this little baby up, right?
Cool, yeah.
Right, Michael, let's have a look. It's been in for an hour and a half. Oh, look at that. Nice, moist environment that's been cooking in for about an hour and a half. So we're going to lift that little baby out. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, wow. It smells delicious. Peel the paper off. It smells delicious. I can smell orange and lemon. Good stuff.
Oh, wow.
Nice and light. Here he is, Georgie's here!
Oh,
right, let's invert this baby.
Is this the spotted dick?
Yeah. Uh-oh. Hey, look at that! Right, and for an extra bit of deliciousness, any golden syrup that you feel like warming up and pouring over the pudding, you got to go for it. Right, but that's my spotted dick and traditional English custard. Beautiful stuff. Good job. Well done. Go grab a seat. Thank you very much. So who wants to taste? Michael has to be you, for sure. Hayden, why not? And Danielle. Up you come. This is George and Gary's one. Suffer. Is that bad? Is that bad? Michael, how light is that pudding?
The steaming pudding thing I've never had before, and it's really cool. I like how light it actually is. It's like a really light sponge.
Surprising, isn't it?
It really is.
Hayden?
That top half where the syrup's just soaked into is the best by far. And yeah, the fruit, it's really nice, lovely.
You're right about
good
eating
stuff.
ice cream though.
You know what though? If you ate a portion of that and then went surfing, straight to the bottom.
Straight to the bottom.
Straight to the bottom. Danielle?
I love it. It's fantastic. I think that may actually replace Nana's Christmas pudding.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Perfect.
My top tips for making the perfect steamed sponge pudding. My first top tip is the consistency of the batter must be nice and soft. It must drop off the spoon and just fall back on itself. My second top tip, the use of fresh suet will make all the difference in the pudding. And my third tip, when you're steaming, make sure you've got a little trivet on the bottom of the pot to protect the bowl. Make sure there's enough water and make sure that it's just on a simmer so you get plenty of steam. It's been an amazing week, guys, full of culinary heroes, and I hope that's inspired you to greater things. We're halfway through the competition. We tell you always, but this is where it heats up, it really does. And I hope it's cleared up a few of the little problem issues we've had in this past week. Okay, guys, come over and grab something to eat. How did you find Heston?
Yeah, fantastic.
Right, guys, that's it. Stop for a second. Have to say this, but isn't this table getting a little bit shorter? The conversations are becoming clearer. It used to be this rabble we couldn't hear, and now it's a little more educated, a little bit more enthusiastic, and we're looking back at what we've done this week and asking ourselves how lucky we are, including these two blokes at the end. I say it every week, but it gets tougher, and it does, doesn't it? You can feel it. I don't think you can imagine how much better this can get, but believe me, it can. And it'll just keep getting better. This is the other half of the competition, and of course, this is where it gets interesting. Now I really want to know who's going to win. Cheers.
Next time on MasterChef Australia.
And it's all about what's in those pots.
Take off your lids.
An invention test with an extra twist.
I'm not even sure what's in there.
I don't know if it tastes good and how it reacts.
Exotic flavours that no one's prepared for.
Who's cooked with Korean ingredients before?
David Chang from Momofuku in New York confounds some.
I guess I'm a little bit lost. To me, it looks like a loofah.
And inspires others.
I instantly know what I'm going to run with.
All of a sudden, I'm in a bit of a fluster.
It's all just going to come down to taste at the end, really.
I did not see this coming from you.
It's going to be a bit of an experiment today.
What is it?
It's a Korean rice burger.